Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Warrior Way. Yesterday, I went to the park. Well, not to the park. I went to an area where there is water, and I went to go hang out by this place where there's water. And I sit there for a while usually, and sometimes I have interactions with people. I actually saw an old friend of mine's wife with her kids there. So we said hello. It was beautiful. And then the wife left, and the kids were still there. The kids came to talk to me a little bit. We're talking about the animals. There was a swan in the water coming over, and we were talking about that. It was such a nice moment. I was telling him to say hello to his father for me. It was beautiful. And then a few hours later, I bumped into someone I knew from my current life, but also from my past life. Really, he's a rabbi, and he is in the world of teaching people about Judaism, about God, about spirituality. And we got into a discussion because he was talking to me about different things. He was talking about a diet he was on, which is so great for him, and admittedly talking about his concerns about money that came up a little bit here and there. And he asked me what I was doing. He thought I was still a therapist. I was a therapist for many, many years, so many people still think I'm a therapist. And I told him no, I haven't been doing that for over a year and a half about at this point. And oh well, the question, of course, how do you pay your bills? And then I said, God is funding me. Well, what does that mean? Of course. What does that mean? Well, someone who's a rabbi, someone who's in the spiritual world, does understand. And when we talked about it, he didn't argue this point. He actually felt it, which is that who's paying your bills, right? Is the person giving you the money paying your bills? Is the boss paying your bills? Or is God paying your bill? So your God is paying your bill through this medium called the boss, called me giving you a transaction, me giving you a dollar, but the God within me is paying you, right? God is deciding how much you're going to get for that transaction. And we spoke for a while about this, and talked about giving charity, and he was talking about different things that he gives, and sometimes when he gives, he was saying like, I know I gave a little more because I know like maybe I'll get a little extra, and it does work that way. That when you give, you're going to get back in return, and you're going to get back so much more than you gave. You might not get back right away, but it is how it works. And when you give unconditionally and for the name of God, in a sense, you're going to get back so much more. It's truly unbelievable, and it is how it works. And you could even do it with the wrong intentions, and you'll still be able to get. People know that. That's why there are so many successful people in the world who are not necessarily God fearing people or God loving people, but they understand the concept of giving. And then when they give, they're going to receive that much more. And if you keep on giving, whether it's money, time, your energy into good endeavors, into positive endeavors, into love, into helping the universe and certain things like that, you're going to get back in certain ways. And that's how the universe works. That's how God works. God will give you, regardless of the person you are. If you give, you will get in return. And you live. And that's why a lot of the great musicians, we talked about this as well, the musicians talk about that idea of giving to live. You give to live. And also they talk about being in the present moment. A lot of musicians, the Beatles have a song called Let It Be, right? And to just let it be, let everything be, meaning to just be here, be in this present moment. And musicians all talk about it. Dave Matthews talks about it in Fish songs. I've listened to a bunch of bands, and Pearl Jam, Pearl Jam has a song called Just Breathe, right? Just be breathing, just be in the moment. Literally, God and Mother Nature, whatever you want to call it, divine energy, divine timing, everything is aligned for you to have everything in the right time, as long as you know that, as long as you believe that. And it's funny because you could talk to people in religious communities who know it intellectually, but have a hard time living it practically. Like they can even teach about it and tell you about it, and to tell people, yes, God is doing this, God is doing this, and yet they are doing a cause and effect. They're going to work to get paid. They're asking you for money. They're saying, well, if you want to speak to me here, I need this money and transaction. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's understanding though that you feel like you need to take matters into your own hands, because there's a little bit of that feeling, well, I know that God is doing it, but I don't feel that. And then the question becomes, well, how do you get to that place of feeling? And people want to know the formula. So they'll look at people like, there's Satguru out there, right, that has tremendous amounts of money. And Satguru, though, he talks about, I mentioned the story about being a little kid staring at a leaf for hours on end. So it started off as a young kid being able to understand you don't have to do anything. You could stare at a leaf, and that in itself gives you everything you need. It's understanding that wherever you are currently in your life, first of all, that's where you need to start from. You can't start from before because it's already now, and you can't start in the future because, again, it's now. You have to start right where you are now, where your belief system is now. And the only way that I found, and the only way that I've seen from others, from the masters of the world, is telling us what to do. They give us the blueprint. The blueprint is to meditate, to be present, just breathe. Take a breath, conscious breath. Focus on your inside of yourself, rising and falling, and do that for a period of time and create that routine. And then people will say, "Oh, I can do it at this time of day, that time of day." I mean, look, I can tell people what I do. I do it in the morning, as I mentioned. I wake up in the morning and I do it right away. I don't even go to the bathroom. I go right into the meditation. So people say, "Well, I really got to go." So then go to the bathroom. If you have to go to the bathroom, go to the bathroom. But the point is that the reason why I didn't do it in the beginning is because I know you get distracted if you go to the bathroom. Then you end up going to the bathroom, then you end up brushing your teeth, and your child wakes up, or your dog wakes up, or you got to do this, or I just have to do this, and then by the time you know it, you end up not doing that routine. I do have routines that I do, and that's one of them. And then I go to the bathroom, and yeah, and then then I read, and then I write, and then I might listen to something that reminds me of consciousness and awareness, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a 5-minute video about something, whether it's reviewing my writing, and there's prayers that I have, and I do some prayers. But the point of it is that each person has to develop their own routines. Now, in the religious world, I was in the religious world, the Jewish religious world. There was, the routine was I woke up in the morning, I went to the bathhouse, and then from the bathhouse I went to usually to some place where there was the prayer services. And before the prayer services, I would learn, I would study, and then I'd pray. So it's funny how it comes full circle that it's kind of similar to what I do now. The only difference is that I was relying on other people in those environments a lot of times, not always, but that there would be other people around, that had to go to a place where there was people around doing those same activities to feel this encouragement of other people, which is beautiful, and there's nothing wrong with that. If that works for you, that's great. But ultimately, it's to find that place within your own home, within your own circumstances, to be able to have that routine regardless of anyone else, to be able to do it for yourself, because it isn't an external thing. It could start off external, like you're trying to get somewhere, but the point isn't to get anywhere. The point is to go in, to realize there's nothing happening. This is all an illusion. It's an illusion. Again, I bring up this concept all the time, and I talk about it all the time, that God knows everything. God knows past, present, and future. You cannot fake out God. You can't fake out God. You can't fake him out like a football move. You can't do that. There's no faking out. Like the second it happened, the second I just spoke, the last 7 minutes and 54 seconds, right before I got to this point, God knows exactly what I was going to say. So then there's no free will. Technically, yeah, there isn't really free will. There's the illusion of free will, if you want to say. But the reason why there is free will is because I feel like I have free will. I can do technically anything I want to do. I can create, I can destroy. Both are in literally my hands. I have a choice of whether or not I want to do that in this moment, or the next moment, or the next moment. So it's the illusion of free will, which means it's irrelevant. It's a funny conversation you get with people about the free will, because they get all animated and worked up over, like, well, then you have no free will. So okay, so you have no free will. Big freaking deal. So what? So you still have to go eat. You still have to go to the bathroom. You still got to go pick up your kids and do your errands. You still got to go to whatever it is you need to do. So you're still going to go ahead and do all those things. So, like, what's the difference? It's an intellectual conversation. There's no reason to get worked up over it. I don't get it doesn't matter to me at this point anymore. I just want to feel good, right? Don't we get to a point where you just want to feel good? And everyone's like, oh, then you'll just be just chasing around your desires all day. And that's what I thought. That's what religion scares you. Religion puts you in a place like fear-based belief system, and that if you don't have these rules and regulations, you're going to become this crazy drug addict, sex addict, fiend. And what ends up happening is a beautiful thing. The more in you go, the more you let go. You also let go of those desires. Sometimes you have to work through the desires. You have to go ahead and do some of those things, and go do the drugs, and go chase the women, and go chase the money, and all that stuff that even people in religious worlds are still doing. Chasing the money is a big one that usually doesn't seem to stop, because there's this fear. There's this fear of running out. There's a fear of, like, get it in now because I'm going to die. And then when you bring up death, okay, so then I brought up death, and understanding that was another part of our conversation. I brought up death, and I know people go, well, it's a deep conversation. It's not really that deep, okay? You kill a bug, smash a bug. How many of us have done that? You're going to lie and say you never smashed a bug? You never killed a bug in your life? If you're an adult watching this, you've killed a bug most likely, right? Intentionally. You're a murderer. You're a goddamn murderer. Boo-hoo! I'm a murderer too. I've killed so many bugs in my life. Even though I'm aware now and intentional now, I've still killed bugs. I'm sitting there and I could be meditating and a bug comes on me and I squawk this and all of a sudden I see this dead bug on my arm. And maybe it wasn't so intentional in that moment, but I'm trying to be much more intentional, even with bugs, not to kill them. I had a bee flying on me the other day. Also, it was flying right on my forehead and I was kind of watching. I was trying to get a film of it. It was just, but I could never get it because every time I tried to film it, it would fly away. But but the point is that we destroy, we create, we destroy, we create videos, we create art, we create writings that I do. We are creators and we are destroyers. It's okay, right? God is a creator and destroyer. If you think about it that way, God creates, gives birth to us, and God takes our life away, kills us in a sense. We die. God makes death. God is. It's not It's like the darkness is what makes the light. You have to have both the darkness and the light, the yin yang, right? The dark and the light and the dark. That's the yin yang. The world isn't. It's not bad and good, evil and righteous. It's darkness and light. There's dark, there's shadow, and then there's light. It's all part of it. But what happens is, to appreciate the light, the darkness is part of it. You have to know that it's there, and then you have to work your way through it. Sometimes by playing it out. And I know there's what happens is that many of us are hiding it because we don't allow ourselves to work through it. We kind of just feel that that we're never going to get through it. Like, again, like I felt that in my life. Like, I didn't know how I was going to get past my desire system. It doesn't mean I don't have them. It doesn't mean they don't come up. They come up all the time still for me, but they're not as invasive and they're not as predominant. Like, they're not taking over my existence. Like, when I had a thought about women and that kind of stuff, it would take over. Like, I could be on a dating app and I could be going for a while, and then I get in a conversation and we go back and forth. And I'm waiting for the text back and going back and forth, and then you have that experience, and then you want it to stay over, and then the next day and the next day, and it's an ongoing cycle that seems to never end. Until what extent, right? So you realize, like, it's not true that you're going to be stuck on those things, because at some point it runs its course, and you see that with elderly people, right? Like, I'm 40, but like, and I know that guys at my age, they don't stop doing these things usually till much later, but guys eventually, like, you're right, you're like at 90, at some point it's going to stop. But then again, you have some 80 and 90 year olds that are still commenting about being that guy, like in the movies you see, like flirting with the women again, which is nothing wrong with that, but maybe they haven't worked their way through it. So there comes a point where, like, you work your way through some of that stuff. Maybe it's age, maybe it's health, maybe it's mental health, maybe it's lack of money that makes you focus on other things. You have to earn a living or whatever it is. But at some point, it's gonna run its course, and it could be death. And death is the great equalizer, as I mentioned before. That death is very important to talk about death, because when you understand that you're here for a minute and gone tomorrow, just like that bug, you're literally like a bug. You're here in a second and your body's gone tomorrow, but you don't go anywhere. This is the part that people maybe want to skim over and they don't want to deal with. You die, this dies, meaning your body dies, but your consciousness lives on. Where were you before you were here? You were here. You just weren't here as I'm Yoni. I wasn't here necessarily as Yoni in this physical body, or I don't remember being Yoni, but I only remember being Yoni. In other words, I'm here being in this physical vessel, and all I remember is being here in this particular moment. The future didn't happen. So why am I going to worry about what's going to happen? So people will say, then why worry about death? It's not worrying about death. You don't worry about death. You just live knowing that death could happen any minute. So when you live with knowing that it could happen any minute, you start to appreciate this moment. You live this moment, and you wouldn't do anything that you actually didn't want to do anymore. You would give up everything you didn't want to do to just be here. And again, if you're stuck in your desire system, then if you give up everything you want to do, then you're going to be like, oh, I'm bored. So you're not going to do that. That's what ends up happening. You're not going to do it. You're going to start chasing around money, women, drugs, parties. You're going to constantly fulfill. You are going to do those things if you don't have something else what you're doing. If you're not a present person, you can't be with yourself. If you don't love yourself, and the only way I found to do that is through breathing, through meditation, to feel God in your breath, and to feel God throughout your day, and to see God every single second. It's the biggest blessing. It's the biggest miracle. And then miracles, you literally live in the miracles because it is a miracle. The fact that's one of the things we were talking about yesterday. I was sitting with her. I said, "This is it's the odds of us being there together was 100 out of 100. It was 100% going to happen. God knew that moment was going to happen. There was no faking out. There's no way around it. But it's a miracle that you're talking to someone, that you're enjoying that conversation, talking about God in that moment. What a beautiful moment. And then when I left, I bumped into another person in my car. I saw him on the street that I knew from the past, also in somewhat of that, it is in the religious world. And we also had a beautiful conversation. It was like a 5-10 minute conversation through the car window about this. And we could have kept on going on and on. He's a beautiful person who also wants to grow. He's asking me questions about it, and we got into the whole thing about working and all this stuff. And I could only tell people, look, you can't fake out. You can't be a phony holy, as Ram Dass says. You can't be a person who's pretending to be holy. I can't pretend. I am where I am, and that's what it is. And I did a lot of inner work to get to this place. I had a conversation with a guy just in the car who drove me home. A guy I just met, driving home from the car place. I was getting my car serviced over here this morning. Just got dropped off before this video. And he starts talking about me about being present. It starts to happen when you're in a place of being present. When you're in that place, people start talking to you and appreciate you because you are owning that place. You're not faking it out. He's not faking it out either in that moment. He's being present to where I'm at, and he knows, for whatever reason, he knew that was a good conversation, and we just went with that conversation about being present, even in the car ride home with this random stranger, beautiful person, not strangers anymore, and we just enjoyed that moment. It's all right here. It's all right here, and I am right here in this moment, and I lose it. The biggest thing is not to tell people, lies. I lose it. You lose it, and you come back, and you lose it, and you come back. But what starts to happen is you keep on coming back through the breath, and you keep on coming back, and then you keep on thinking about God, and you keep on seeing God, and you keep on saying thank you, and you keep on saying I love you, thank you, and you keep on saying thank you, but not on Instagram and not on YouTube and not on Facebook being like, thank you, God. Thank you, God. No, it's thank you. Like when no one's watching, and then I could come on here and be like, yes, thank you, God. But seriously, like, thank you, God. It's not thank you, God. Blessed be, like, like that show. I forgot the name of that show. That's can't remember the name of it now. But the idea is to be real, to really be thank you. And yes, and maybe there's a little element of like in the beginning, it seems strange, but it's not about being faking. It's not about faking. You could try to take on like watch video for myself or other people who are in this place, and you could want to be where they're at. You could want to be like, and I trust me, there are places people that I'm like, I wish I was like them, right? But you have to be you. Their way is their way. Like when I watch psychic readings or psychics, or I look at people like Sadhguru or Ram Dass, of course there's part of me that I'm like, I wish I could do that. You're not them. You can take elements from all these people and then figure out, who are you? What do you like doing? Do you actually like doing this? Do you like dancing? Do you like singing? Do you like making art? Do you like entertaining people? Do you like being secluded, alone, and just being in a cave? You want to sit in the cave all day? That's fine. Find your method. It's your method. There is no one way. The religions, I was reading from Ram Dass today, this morning, from the same book I mentioned the other day, Grist for the Mill, and he says, do you go into the religions that all, if you really suck yourself fully into all the religions, fully, it all comes down to one thing: being together with God. It all comes back to that every moment is God. Not separation, oneness, wholeness, that we're all God. Everything, every individual, every speck of dirt. And once you're there, you start to see, well, if that's the case, then live your dream, live your life, and just let it be, because it'll all work its way out, because it all is God. Anyway, I'm going to leave you here for today, and I appreciate you. Thank you for listening.